Welcome back to the Ag Creators Podcast. Today, Jack and I are catching up on what we've been up to lately, and then we're diving into Jack's recent trip to Brazil with Spraytec. We'll talk about the scale of farming in Brazil, how it compares to ag here, what stood out most from the farmers and operations he saw, and why trips like this are so important when it comes to telling ag story. Let's hop into it. Jack, let's talk about what we've been doing. It's been a little while since we've had a podcast. You've been in school. What else has been happening?
It's been a while. I feel like we haven't done one of these in a long time. I feel like the last time was probably during harvest, which that was, probably 5 months ago. And so a lot has happened since then. Obviously, we're still active on social media. We're still posting stuff, but the podcast kind of took a little break. I'm in school still. I'm a senior, and so I'm about to graduate from Mississippi State, and so I'm really close. I've got a month and a half left, and then I'm going to be doing it full time. And so I'm getting really close, but it's been a minute. How have you been?
I've been good. I've been great. I've been wanting to get back into this. I think it's going to be fun. We're going to do a lot more experiences. Last year, we went to Rice Field for the first time, or my first time, and that was fun. So we're going to do some more things like that and do more podcasts like this. And so kind of what's been going on lately, well, we're getting ready for planting season. We were just out spraying some nitrogen and spraying some pre-emerge herbicides out there. We're a couple weeks away from planting still, but we're getting a lot of this work done since it's been pretty nice in our area. So we haven't gotten to the field yet for planting and growing yet, but we're getting out there doing some things. How about you, Jack? What's going on down by you?
It's an exciting, so obviously we love being in the field, and this is an exciting time of year. Guys have been in the field for 2 to 3 weeks, and so we got a really bad freeze, I guess, last week as we're recording this. A lot of guys had corn and beans already up in the Delta, and so they got, a lot of frost damage. And so a little bit of replant, but a lot of guys are already in the field. I was in the field in Alabama yesterday. They just started planting beans, corn, all that stuff. And so putting out fertilizer, burn down, all that good stuff. And so it's really cool. I've been able to get a lot of video, which is always fun. The winter's fun, but this time of year is definitely more fun. And I just got back from Brazil, I guess a month ago, and so that was really fun. It was really cool to see they were in the midst of harvest and planting, and so it was really cool to leave Mississippi when it was 40 degrees and land in Sao Paulo where it's 80 degrees, high, low, 70 degrees at night. It was really cool.
Yeah, so talking about agriculture down there, what was your biggest differences that you saw?
Probably their infrastructure. We take for granted our infrastructure. And I've heard it before I went down there of how sometimes, going from a ag retailer to the shop, it can be 100 miles. And that, I heard it and I was like, all right, that's a, little ways. But like coming from here in the States where you have an ag retailer, you can get stuff pretty quick, to where, some farms might be, a good drive just to get to an ag retailer. And so that just the infrastructure that we have, I feel like we take for granted. A lot of farmers down there didn't have grain bins, and so they utilize a co-op, and their co-op system is really big. Their co-op down there does everything from supplying, products, but also agronomy recommendations and basically everything the farmer needs to grow a crop. And then obviously that farmer can take it to the co-op, and they have it set up to where the co-op, it is, the farmer can store their grain there for free for either 6 months or a year. And then after that, they start charging. But it's a really cool system that they have down there, that the co-op is basically a part of the whole thing. And so I feel like here it's a lot more spread out. Farmers might buy from this company, might buy from this company, might buy direct, might buy indirect. There it was a lot more co-op focused. And it was really cool because a lot of farmers where we were, they farmed 400 acres probably on average in the southern part of Brazil. And so a lot of those farmers, coming from the States where you might have a 4,000 acre farm, our equipment is different. Their equipment is a lot in the southern part of the country is, on average probably smaller than here. And so it was really cool to see the difference in technology, equipment. And then from what we heard, like the northern part of the country is a lot bigger farms, 20,000 acres, 30,000 acres, much bigger. But it was really cool to see the difference and to see how they manage their row crops versus here, because even the fertility aspect is very different. There, they apply one of the things that kind of, I don't know why, I guess growing up in Alabama and then kind of working for Chad and filming with him so much, boron is always a big focus. He's always putting out boron. Well, in Brazil, they put out all their boron before planting. And so that was something that I thought was interesting. They plant and then they harvest in January, February timeframe, March timeframe, and then they plant their second crop, which is usually corn, and then they'll harvest that when it's ready. But they'll apply all of their boron at burn down, and so before planting. And so I thought that was really cool. It was different, and a lot of obviously I don't farm, but a lot of the people that we were with farmed. I was one of the only ones who didn't farm. And so it was cool to hear them talk about their practices on their farm versus in Brazil, and kind of what they were going to take back with them when they get back to. We had some guys from Pennsylvania, obviously Iowa, Indiana, and so it's really cool to kind of hear and see them look at ag over there and see how they can take it back to their farm back, here in the States. It was really cool. It was very different than here.
Yeah, it sounds like it is. I've seen your stories from doing all the different things. I need to get down to Brazil sometime. But it's just like anywhere where we go, we see different crops, different practices, even in the United States. Obviously, it's a lot different when you're around the world in Brazil. But it's pretty cool, and I'm glad that you got to go. It sounded like a fun experience.
It was really cool. It shows just how different agriculture can be, but also how it's all the same. We got to meet with farmers in the field who, talking. We needed translators, obviously. That was one of the things that I wasn't. I guess I should have realized it, but I didn't going down there. None of them really speak English, and so. Obviously, we were the group, which helped, but even like going through the airport on one of the days, we were trying to go through the airport, and there was a group of 9 or 10 of us, and obviously we're all we stick out pretty well, and so we were in line to board the plane, and the guy at the gate is asking me questions, and the rest of the group's farther back in line, and he starts asking questions in Portuguese, and I'm like, I don't know, I can understand you. And so it was definitely a fun adventure, trying, and by the end of it we kind of understood some of like water, Coca-Cola, stuff like that. But it was definitely interesting, but it also showed just how common agriculture is. I mean, being in the field with farmers down there during harvest, it was just like being in a field with farmers in Arkansas or Mississippi. They're all facing similar problems. They're all doing similar things. They just might not speak the same language.
Yeah, so it's cool to be able to experience that and just understand like farmers are farmers wherever they're at, no matter which country that they're in and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool. Did they have your sweet tea that you love to get?
They didn't. They had, even Coca-Cola wasn't as common. We had, I love Dr. Pepper. It might be a Southern thing. I love Dr. Pepper, and that was unheard of there. And so the food was very different. We ate at a lot of like American, quote unquote, American restaurants, like pizza, wings, stuff like that. But the second half of the week, we ate a lot more Brazilian food. And it was good, but it was a lot different than here. A lot of like beans and rice, and they love meat, it was some of the best meat that red meat steaks that I've had. It was really good. They have a lot of fruit down there, which I guess it makes sense being so close to the equator. But they had some of the freshest pineapple, and so it was really cool. It was cool to see how Spraytec operates over there, or how they're they're from Brazil, or they started down there, and so it's really cool to see their warehouses, and we got to tour where they store the product, where how they make it. We got and a lot of the stuff comes from like the problems that the growers down there face. And so like here, you don't fungicide your crop 4 or 5 times, but down there that's pretty common to fungicide beans 3 or 4 times. And so it was really neat to see because that's something that was very different than in Alabama or even South Dakota.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I've heard about that as well, where there's a lot more management, especially because they don't really have a winter. It's always pretty warm down there, so there's always stuff growing. So there's that leads to a lot more challenges. Obviously, there's some pros to that. That's nice, but there's also a lot of cons too to that. So that is interesting to hear about. And you didn't even get into the vegetable or fruit side, which would be cool to go see down there as well.
I agree. We got to see, we got to go to one of the co-op headquarters, I guess, and they had where they do field days and all that stuff. But they had a plot that had coffee plants in it, and so that was about the only quote unquote fruit or something aside from corn and beans that we got to see. But even that was super cool. You don't think of coffee being a agriculture product necessarily when you go and get it, but it comes from the same field or same dirt that corn and beans come from. And so it was really cool to see. We got to hold, coffee beans and stuff in our hands and see and pick them off the plant, which was really cool.
Yeah, that is cool. Yeah, all the food is all coming from farmers in some way, shape, or form, and it's just something that we don't grow around here because it
Exactly.
definitely involves a different environment. Just like crops that you grow down in the south aren't the same crops that we grow up here. It's all a little bit different and relative to the area. So that's why it's fun to go see that stuff every
But
once in
yeah,
a while.
it was really cool. And it was weird coming back to, it was hot all week, and then coming back to, we had in the south we had a big ice storm. I guess a week or 2 weeks after coming back from Brazil. A lot of places got half an inch of ice or whatever, and it got 20, 30 degrees, and so it was a shock coming back to needing a jacket. But it's nice out now. A lot of guys have started planting, spraying, all that stuff, and so it's a fun time of year. It's hard for me to stay in class when I know guys are planting.
But yeah, talk about your perspectives now, going and traveling and filming some of that stuff. Are you going to show it? Just talk about why it's so important, or you think it's important to do that.
I think it's important just to show people where their food comes from, and I think Brazil opened my eyes up to how the other world the rest of the world sees agriculture, and not necessarily that they see it different, but it's just a different. They have slightly different problems, or they have slightly, they're all growing the same thing, but they might struggle in one thing, and we might struggle in the other. And so it kind of opened my eyes to coming to where I travel in the south or southeast. It's opened my eyes and shown just how important it is to show agriculture, just to show what farmers deal with and not even just we always harp on teaching people where their food comes from, and that's really important. But even just the practices, like it's really cool to show what some farmers are doing with canola, for example, and how they're putting nutrients out and why they're putting nutrients out for other farmers. There was a farmer in Australia that reached out on Instagram, and I think it was Australia. They grow canola, and they were asking questions about what fertility and fungicide products are going out on canola. And so it's opened my eyes recently how social media can connect everybody, and how it can even not just show people where their food comes from, but to show other farmers what some guys are doing that they could do. What do you think?
That's the whole point too of the Ag Creators podcast, is to help connect the consumers to the farmers, and we can talk about that more. And I'm hoping we do a lot more on social media too, with just our crops and just the basics and just the generalized. What are these crops? What are they going to? We cover a lot of crops up here by me. I mean, we're covering 4 crops just in my area, but there's a lot more crops around up in the north, and there's a lot of different crops down in the south that you can cover. So we have kind of a wide basis of that, and it's really cool to see. I think it's very important to travel around and to learn about where these foods and crops are grown and how they're grown and where they're grown at, because you don't understand it until you go there, what they're kind of going through. It might be the exact same thing as you, or it might be a lot different, but you don't really fully embrace it or understand it till you see it. and you're like, oh wow, now I have a bigger understanding, respect for what goes into that product and how we get it as consumers, whether it's a product like coffee where they grind the coffee beans, we have coffee. Okay, that's pretty direct to consumer, but there's other products that are a little bit different like canola and corn and soybeans, but they all work to basically feed us or to feed kind of our environment and our country in order to feed us. So it's indirectly helping us in a way. So I think it's just really interesting and cool to get out there and to see it. And it's nice when we can go out there and film it too and be able to show all of this on social media.
And I think it's really cool just the people that it can connect you with. Like, I think, we've kind of taken a break for a little while, but we've both been, there's a lot of people that we want to have on this that might grow rice or might grow cotton or might grow sugarcane or whatever it may be. Everybody has a story to tell. Everybody is connected to agriculture. Some people might just not, know they're connected, or they might, some people just don't have a platform to tell their story. And so I think it's really cool to be able to have guests on and farmers that can just tell their story and how their, what their farm does, what problems they have, or what successes they found.
Yeah, no, it'll be good. We're going to continue to do that. We're going to stay on it with the Ag Creators podcast. Now that Jack's out of school or getting out of school here shortly, it's going to be something we're going to stay up on. So I'd stay tuned for different things going on social media and on the podcast in general. So Jack, getting into that, what's next? What are the next goals for the podcast?
I think grow it and have focus on put a bigger focus on guests. I mean, we've done a great job, but with school, like, it's been hard for me. And I think just being consistent and having good guests and having guests that people, good conversations, talking about crops or talking about, how ag is connected to the world basically, and even just getting in the field. We got to see rice. You got to come down and see rice this past year, and then cotton the year before. I think I'm going to go up and see y'all during harvest and silage and all that stuff. And so it'll be cool to film that and to see South Dakota ag, because I've never been that far north.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it'll be good. It's going to be exciting, and we're going to get different farmers on here and different people in the industry. Let us know if you have any other options or people you want to hear or different things like that. We're going to be trying to pump out some more content on social media as well. So I'm excited for what the future holds.
I'm excited. I think it'll be really cool. I think it'll be cool to keep this going and see who we can have on and what companies we can partner with and see what happens.
Yeah, so excited to go into this spring, and check us out on social media. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, as well as check out this podcast as well. We're on all the different platforms, so stay tuned. We'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching or listening.